You know, I have a lot of hours in Payday 2. I've honestly tried nearly everything I could think of in terms of playstyles. I have made videos about Payday 2 builds for a while. But let's take a step back for a bit. Let's step back to the first time I've ever owned a video game, back in the days of October 4th, 2006. I got my first ever console on my 6th birthday, the Gamecube, and even what I consider one of the greatest video games of all time with it, Luigi's Mansion. Eventually, I moved on to the PC when I watched Captain Sparkles' Man vs. Machine video, which brings me to today. I decided to find a way to hook up my Gamecube controller to my PC, which I originally intended to use for the Dolphin emulator, and it turns out Steam allows me to use the Gamecube controller on some games. I can even play games such as Payday 2 on the Gamecube controller. And I jokingly said to myself, I wonder if I can beat Payday 2 like kknowley's challenges with a Gamecube controller. You know, as a joke. A joke. Hey everybody, it's Crasherbasher here, and today I decided to make a challenge video similar to kknowley. Credits to him, by the way, and thank you for not only the inspiration and permission, but also approving of this video. So first thing first, let's go over what beating Payday 2 is. So we've got to complete career mode from start to finish, but the thing is I can only play with the Gamecube controller. No keyboard and mouse allowed, no other type of controllers allowed. I have to reset my account and play from level 0. I can't grind for money or XP on heists outside of career mode. Heists are played offline, solo with crew AI, more on this later. Mods are limited to HUD and challenge-specific additions, also more on this later. And I have to play on the highest difficulty, excluding Death Sentence, Mayhem from level 0 to 79, and Deathwish from level 80 to 100. No cheap or easy builds, as I determine it, also more on this later. And so let's go over a few exceptions I've listed here. Now some of you might look at this and say I'm using crew AI and that would be considered easy, but hold on, let me remind you that I really need them more than you can possibly imagine. The controls limited my available movement and capabilities, and since I had to use the AI in some regard, I took it upon myself to not use the boosts or equipping them with overpowered weapons and keep them as default gets. Now, I have stayed with purely cosmetic mods. I disabled anything that can make the game easier except for one tweak. I disabled minigun dozers. Now, you can argue about the choice I made having this mod, I'd like to hear your opinion, but minigun dozers, in my personal opinion, are slow, extremely tanky, and are only going to take out spots for more useful dozers. So by disabling them, I actually made the game harder, as it seems that 2 bulldozers are always on top of me at all times. Pause. So what do I mean by cheap or easy builds? I'm talking about the builds I consider builds that consist of things such as Hacker, Leech, Copycat, Body Expertise, Crits, Flamethrower, etc. Things like that. But before I get into the controls, I do have to ask you folks who are watching, please be sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and if you want more video game content like this, be sure to share and like the video as this would help me eat tonight. Now let's break down the Gamecube controller. I own this exact Gamecube controller I've had since my fateful 6th birthday. It still works like a charm with a little wear and tear here and there, including the stylish blue duct tape, but everything works completely fine. Now since I'm using a genuine Gamecube controller, there are some important things to note in terms of Payday 2's controller setup. Left trigger is mask up, deploy equipment, and throw bags, which sounds simple enough, but there's just one little tiny problem. I don't have a left trigger. I have a Z button, but there's no ZL or LT button like the Pro controllers for the Switch. Other Payday 2 mechanics like sprinting are right and left stick presses, and since the Gamecube controller doesn't have either of those, this means I can't sprint or melee at all. So this means I have to walk everywhere I go and I can only shoot at anyone that gets close. But what about the LT button? I actually found a solution for that. Stay with me here as I explain how I had to rebind my keys. So Payday 2 doesn't let you rebind any of its controls in-game, so what could I do? Well, Steam lets you do so in big picture mode. Yeah, you heard correctly. I had to launch Steam in big picture mode, select Payday 2, select controller settings with the controller, and only then could I finally rebind the buttons to do different things. Talk about overcomplication here. I rebound the LT button to D-pad up. And what does D-pad up normally do, you might ask? It's the push to talk button. So that means if I want to mask up, throw bags, or deploy anything, I have to use the D-pad up. And this becomes a much bigger issue than what's led to believe. One last bit to go over is the addition of the aim assist. Aim assist is key to being able to do anything with these heists. Even though some consider this aimbot and cheating, with the way the sensitivity works with Payday 2 and controllers, makes it so it's almost crucial and required. Payday 2 seems to have this weird controller acceleration thing, which I can't turn off. This means that if I flick the stick harder, I will turn much quicker than if I were to softly move the stick. So with all that information and nitty-gritty details out of the way, let's get to the challenge itself. Heading back to level 0, starting with Tony and a simple mask to keep my radical and cool look as I get into this challenge. I start off with the loud tutorial heists and immediately know the sheer difference between a controller and a keyboard. The sensitivity I talked about earlier that's on my controller means I have to turn very slowly or very quickly or some weird in between. The main control stick is how I move the camera and the small C stick is how I move. The tutorial heists being on what I assume is normal means there was no trouble at all. You might notice how these first few heists I have someone in these games. That's my fiance, well now wife, known as Bean Buckets. She, well not to be rude, is not very good at this game, so she's really here just for moral support. After clearing up a few of the beginning heists, I'd run into the real first roadblock, Go Bank. For this heist, I equipped the Saw and the Bronco 44. I thought that on Mayhem, it would be enough to keep the swarm of cops off with the bots and my Joker behind me while using the Saw to speed up the deposit boxes in order to not stay long. However, this heist starts to show a few issues with the difficulty balance that is for Payday 2. For some reason, Skulldozers were spawning on Mayhem, which, in case you aren't aware, they don't unless under certain scripted circumstances. So while I was dealing with a whole new threat, I also kept getting swarmed by the cops left and right in such a claustrophobic space, leaving me to rely on the bots and the Jokers to kill them fast enough as I try to get at least one bag out. You might think, why not just shoot them and clear them away? Well, with being such a low level and armed with nothing but a revolver, I really couldn't do much, and even worse, with the Gamecube Controller, I can't flick my aim fast enough to keep them away, which ended up with some of my downs being revived, only to be immediately pummeled to death by the SWAT ready to beat me. This actually starts where I get my first loss, with many more to come. On my next attempt, I get a run going where I don't get a good cage spawn and location, forcing me to bring my one money bag on my back through the sewer and into the van, totaling the amount of time that Go Bank, a heist that usually takes 10 minutes, even solo, up to 28 on my first successful attempt. Don't worry though, this is just the beginning. I then head into the diamond store heist, this time taking more of a stealth approach to things, and not before I prepare my second skill set with the build with stealth skills armed with a small pistol, a bow, and rogue. There's something interesting about stealthing with a Gamecube controller since it feels all too familiar to a certain reptilian in a jungle forest. Now, if you thought moving bags in Diamond Store was a chore, try not being able to sprint without transporter for all 17 bags. I had to take a different approach to stealth, as if I'm caught between answering a pager or two pagers go off, I will fail the heist. I can't sprint and I have to get lucky enough to answer both in time. Meaning, I have to take precaution on which guards I need to kill in order to stealth. As with any solo stealther can tell you, I ran out of cable ties and had to leave no witnesses, meaning killing civilians when I ran out, while hearing Bane lecture me about civilian casualties. Going further into career mode, it required me to complete 3 transport heists. Transport heists have a bad reputation of not only being able to have little to no value in terms of loot, but also not having cover, leaving me to get shot from every angle possible. Before heading into these heists, I decided to switch up my loud build a bit and went into Overkill Basic along with taking my trusty Locomotive 12-gauge shotgun. In case you don't know, the skill applies a damage buff to both my Locomotive and Saw, meaning I can one-tap the deposit boxes as long as I get the first initial kill with my Locomotive. Luckily, I got 2 of the transport heists known for actually having a place to cover, Dockyard and Underpass, but my lucky streak ends prematurely here with Downtown. Regarding my strategy, I camp out at a spot that serves as a safe enough place for me to survive the wave of cops, and walking, to go fix the drills and pray that the cops don't arrive soon so I have enough time to run back to my safe spots and wait out another assault. During this time, I realized that there's another special unit that would give me a major headache during this challenge, the Marshall Shield. This enemy, this special unit, constantly threats every single heist I go loud in. The issue isn't the fact that they flashbang you, it's not the ludicrous amount of stun locking they give to my Jokers, it's their fucking invincibility. So let's talk about the Marshals for a second. Marshals can have their shields broken, and that's the worst part. Why, you may ask? Well, the problem is now that they have an auto shotgun that not only hazes my screen, it also stun locks my Jokers. And when their shield gets broken, they get 3 seconds of straight up invincibility. Yeah, you heard that right, invincibility, as in nothing can hurt them during this. Additionally, breaking their shield fully heals all their health and quadruples it. What's even worse is that during these 3 seconds, they can shoot you back. That sounds unfair so far? Just wait, it gets better. Let's go back to the health part. See, what actually happens during this challenge goes something like this. A martial shield stands in my way, I attempt to either avoid it or move away, but then the bots break its shield, leaving me with a special unit that now takes 4 times the effort to kill, with 3 seconds of invincibility, and able to quickly down me as a result. Here's the thing, the bots do manage to sometimes take down the martial shield without touching its shield entirely, but this happens rarely. Plus, with how limited the Gamecube Controller is, I can't sprint or move fast enough around him, and the aim assist seems to want to shoot his shield more than his head or body. What makes this worse comes from the fact that someone told me that there is a limit. I'm not kidding here, an actual honest-to-God limit of how much damage can penetrate the shield. Say if, for example, a sniper rifle's damage falls under this limit, I can headshot kill the shield with it no problem at all. But if it's over that limit, the shield breaks instead. So not only do martial shields have the problems like the ones listed earlier, they're also arbitrarily difficult to kill due to other wacky limits that Overkill decided to implement with the martial shields. Martial shields constantly threaten as the main nuisance during this run. Not bulldozers, not cloakers, hell, not even tasers. These guys. These mother shields are the main prominent issue during this run. Fuck the martial shields. Anyways, back to the heist. No sprinting really starts to shine on downtown. I slowly walk towards this small desk and take enough cover to survive the assault before heading back, hoping I won't catch any stray bullets from the cops that stay around and make it back to the helicopter. You might notice that instead of using Rogue, my beloved, I needed something else here. I needed a perk deck that could constantly keep me healthy and armor gate, and able to withstand bullets while I move from cover to cover, with keeping my throwables if I need some breathing room. Now, what perk deck could honestly do all this for me? I took Biker, surprisingly. Now I know what you're thinking. Why are you using Biker? Why not use something like Anarchist or Leech? Anarchist would reduce my max health, and since I need to use health as a way to make sure I stay alive in case my armor breaks, Anarchist wasn't a viable option, and Leech, while would probably make this challenge much easier, with the way my controller was set up, I can't hit the Leech button fast enough to make any use of it, and if I also wanted to keep my throwables, I needed other perk decks. As for other perk decks, they're either too team-based or too situational to make any use of them either. So with Biker also applying its health and armor regen when the bots or my converts get killed, it seemed like the easy choice to go with. So remember how I mentioned earlier that no sprinting and lack of cover was a big issue with downtown? Train Heist takes this and cranks it up to 12, I swear. Train Heist has 23 loot bags needed to secure, and to make matters worse, the heist is also open all the time, meaning snipers can take quick pot shots. The narrow walkway can make one mistake on my end send me flying down to the depths of under the bridge, leaving me to suffer a slow and painful death. I needed the truck as the loot secure area, as the boat would be too much of a hassle. That's just the easy part though, as with Bio throwing the drills out of the helicopter far away from where I'm located, forcing me to slowly walk my way back and forth to start the drills. The no sprinting problem reared its ugly head again, as another huge issue for me was to consider 2 options of securing the loot. Either 1 bag at a time via the zip line, or 4 with the bots holding 3 and me holding 1. The zip line doesn't seem like a good option with how slow and out in the open it is, and I'm risking going down and since I can't sprint, and it leaves the bag with the cops, meaning all that effort could mean nothing if they take it. The first attempt actually ended frustratingly, with the bots not figuring out how to get to me, watching me slowly bleed out and head into custody 44 minutes in. After a breather and some rethinking, I met my second attempt with success, clocking at about half an hour this time. You may notice that I decided to take the Rattlesnake sniper rifle instead of the saw. I use this primarily to take care of the snipers, shields, and bulldozers, but later on it becomes one of the main weapons used as I kept going. After this over an hour-long heist, the difficulty cooled down a bit as I beat the next 4 heists, Mall Crasher, 4 stores, White Xmas, and Ukrainian Job with relative ease. At this point, I felt that the locomotive and the overkill skill were not pulling their weight enough with the amount of cops that I had to deal with. Sad to say, I had to put my old friend the locomotive away and decided to invest into Grays and the sniper skill tree. Sorry old friend, you would have been better if this was 2015. But with my new and improved Rattlesnake, I set out to a murky water warehouse to retrieve some nuclear loot. Meltdown started off with a reminding of how I personally feel like I have bad luck with this heist. This heist possibly starts as a predecessor for preparing me for the worst in the future. Once I finally found the vault, I put all my crowbars in one basket, or rather, into one vent as I started the second part of Meltdown, moving the warheads. I'm sure you're all familiar with the controls that vehicles have in Meltdown, but wait till you hear how they work on the controller. So to start, acceleration is the fire button and reverse is the aim down sight button. That's a standard for some, but for me, I grew up with things such as playing Crash Team Racing and Mario Kart. I expected the drive button to be the A button and the reverse to be B. Issues don't stop there though, as I need to deliver 8 nukes to the van, meaning 2 trips for the car. Even worse, if I'm caught next to a SWAT van, I can kiss that attempt goodbye. Sprinting and being speedy can counter the SWAT van, but seeing as how I can't do either of those things, I decided to help myself with the setup of the car and bring 2 bags by themselves with the bots. I drive 3 forklifts to where the car is parked in order to make the transport of the bags easier. Of course, the snipers didn't make this any easier either. On top of the relentless bulldozers, the slow and sluggish transport of the nuclear warheads, and the SWAT turrets, a heist that typically takes 20 to 25 minutes took me a whole 40 minutes to complete. This is going to be a common theme for the future heists. I then head out to Los Angeles to get some safes for Vlad after an earthquake and aftershock. This heist took about 40 minutes, where it's usually 15 to 20 on the first attempt at least. So then I head into the mall and get back Vlad's brother-in-law from the cops at a mall and... well, maybe I can just shoot? No, I can't shoot him. Well, I'm at a loss. I need to melee hit Santa, and I can't just wait it out. It seems like I really can't beat Payday 2 with a Gamecube controller. Unless... wait, what's that? Oh yeah, that's right. With the power of my stand, Average Gaming, I can hit him to melee Santa and proceed with the heist. Now, would using stands or magic count against this challenge? Well, I had no other option, so let's just proceed. Don't worry though, as he didn't stay around much to make a significant impact and only really stayed for the XP and loot while I did all the objectives. So it's up to your discrepancy on this if it counts as cheating or not. After finding out I can summon a stand, I head to the nightclub, which went as well as you expect, relatively easy and quick for a heist. Now I move on to Hector and his 3 heists, Watchdogs, Firestarter, and Rats. Now Watchdogs went surprisingly easy even though I secured 4 bags of coke, and the other 8 were left in the van. The 2 heists after this, Firestarter and Rats, took an hour each. For Firestarter, I head into an airport to either steal or destroy weapons that the Mendozas have. Destroying the weapons wasn't considered an option though, as it spawned too far away, so I opted to walk my way up with the 4 bags of weapons each trip. I head into the FBI headquarters to steal 2 servers. This took quite a bit since it didn't bring a saw, and sadly I had to leave the Go behind. After another simple bank heist where I burn Mendoza's blood money and steal the footage, I make my way into the Rats heist and start to cook some meth. Rats by itself can take a while if you decide to go for all 7 bags of meth, especially solo. Doing this heist solo brings me back to when I did the same thing in 2015 on very hard, but now I'm doing this back on Mayhem with a Gamecube controller. I didn't want to get an escape on day 1, so I decided to cook all 7 bags of meth, or maybe I was just greedy. Day 2 had a different story though. Instead of walking back and forth 7 times to get the meth for the trade and get the information, I opted instead to take the money first, which they didn't seem to mind, surprisingly, and opened fire to forcefully drill and open the safe for information. This day took way longer than probably anyone has ever had, clocking in at 11 minutes, and at this point I decided not to let greed get the best of me and just kill the Mendozas, with Gray speaking a very quick work of and escaped, thus completing all of Hector's contracts on the Gamecube controller for this challenge. After my Hector contracts, the elephant wants to start business with Almir's favorite heist, Big Oil. And for this heist, I become equipped with my favorite rifle in the game, and in real life, the Repeater. The Repeater is a sniper rifle that hits good damage marks, letting me be able to kill the Marshal shield through his shield without breaking his shield, thank god, and reload bullets one at a time. This rifle becomes very necessary with how many bulldozers and marshals start to show up in Big Oil. I got to the escape and headed into day 2. Day 2 starts and ends how it usually goes. Thankfully, I got the pool helicopter and waited by the plane since I got the keys from day 1, which, a little fun fact for you, does not burn even if it's set on fire. I started heading out to Framing Frame where I took things a bit differently. I decided to fully stealth Framing Frame from day 1 to day 3. Day 1 started off with the art gallery, which I mistakenly didn't take trip mines and took body bags instead. I alerted this guard at the front desk but strangely managed to hide his body right behind said desk. I wanted to get all the paintings since if I had more cameras, I would find the items in Framing Frame day 3 much easier, but made it out with only 5 paintings before the alarm went off. After delivering the only 5 paintings I had on day 2, I grabbed 1 money bag just in case I got ambushed. Even though it's 1%, I've had that happen twice. Thankfully, I did not get 1%ed and managed to secure a single money bag and did not secure any more since it would take too long for such a minuscule reward. I move on to day 3. Stealthing this can be a nightmare for some, me included. especially if you get unlucky with the vault spawning in the foyer or in the hallway instead of the bedroom. Remember how I mentioned earlier that if I got more cameras on day 1, it would make day 3 easier? Well, hilariously enough, this happened.
Wait, I need to check. Ha 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 ha! I fucking knew it!
I got lucky this time with the bedroom vault, but did not go for the gold. Maybe if someone paid me $10 to do so, but I did not want to risk losing this heist entirely for my greed. Keeping up with my stealthing streak, I head into Election Day with the same stealth approach as Framing Frame. Day 1 got a little troublesome since I can't parkour my way around the map, and actually end up failing because a guard spotted a body bag and I couldn't make it in time to kill him, thus setting off the alarm. On my second attempt though, I went through a little easier, but I had to kill this guard by the front gate since I can't possibly move fast enough to make a difference. And I walked fast enough so I can make it to the escape and stealth successfully. Now on to day 2. Day 2 went pretty easy with no... As I was saying, no problems, got the gold, and escaped. Luckily, since I was only level 79 and not 80, this meant that I could still do the next heist on Mayhem, which was actually a merciful throw, since the next heist on the list was Big Bank. Right before starting the heist, I went into pre-planning and with the old strategy of Thermite and the elevator escape, so as to not take as much time as I would have with the Beast. I actually ended up going down on the first minute of this heist, as this guard got some lucky hits in. What a great start. I got a drill going for the server room, and since I have no idea where the manager is with the keycard, and I was fairly confident that the keycard wasn't in the safe either. I kept the one keycard on me for when the wires in the building on the roof, since I didn't want to stay there for too long. I ran into some major trouble on this one ladder, however. The cops mercilessly swarmed me at this one spot, and I went down a lot. Things turned for the worse as a black bulldozer was ready to keep me down. Eventually the bots did manage to revive me, only to immediately go back down from a cloaker. I thought this was the end, but luckily Wolf was more than willing to stand his ground, and as he revived me twice, barely saving Hoxton from going back to jail. 13 minutes in, I managed to get into the server room and had to randomly guess and check every single computer till the time lock code could finally be rewired. These paper-thin cubicles thankfully proved with enough cover to hold back the cops, but with just my luck, I had to go up into the second floor to find the computer, which also took a while, down to 2 computers. I guess I shouldn't go to a local bingo game at this point, as I finally got the code only a mere 20 minutes in. I had to walk my way back to the time code to rewire it, making sure to slowly take care of the snipers as 1 or 2 shots were enough to get me downed again. Rewiring the time lock, taking careful view of the ladder below, and waiting for the blasted time lock before finally getting to the back area of the bank. 25 minutes in. It's honestly amazing how slow things are when you can't sprint or even fight your way back in an efficient manner. This would have driven me mad if I also had to get the pig, the drill parts, and assemble the beast all at once. Thankfully, I just had to pick up the thermite and wait. While I waited for the thermite for an additional 5 minutes, I opened the camera room just for funsies, and after dropping down into the vault, I realized I made one crucial mistake. I didn't have the keys for me to open the doors, which meant I had to wait even longer for another drill to open the door, and the room I opened a hole into only had 3 bags of money of the required 4 I needed to finish the heist. Out of desperation, I lockpicked the deposit boxes, which luckily one of them contained a bag of gold, the 4th bag needed. That didn't mean I was out of the fire just yet, however, as the cops and the special units kept shooting me while I was waiting for the drill to finally get done, making me go down enough to go gray screen, after a grueling 4 minutes of hell in a cell, making the timer reach about 35 minutes. The gate finally opened. I didn't want to stay any longer as I fought my way back into the elevator, leaving me with 4 bags of loot to finally beat Big Bank at 37 minutes in. Upon reaching level 80, this means I have to do the rest of the heist on the Deathwish difficulty. So let's talk about Deathwish for a bit. For those unaware, it's the 2nd highest difficulty in the game. Most enemies have the same health currently, but damage ramps up. For example, a regular SWAT damage goes from 20 to 60, and it goes even further with the special units also getting buffed to their health. This is also when Payday 2 decides to throw almost everything at you. If I get overwhelmed to 4, it's cranked up to 11 on Deathwish. So with that in mind, what's the first heist I have to do in Deathwish? Hotline Miami. Hotline Miami starts with eliminating the Russian gangsters. Easy enough, and as you might expect immediately, the objectives that usually take a few seconds took a few minutes instead. I needed to burn 4 gas cans on cars, which also took forever as I can't sprint and I had to do it 1 at a time. I was able to use the C4 on the gas cans at 8 minutes in. Not only did I have enough reaction time in case of snipers, but the cops were starting to swarm even more. exemplifying the huge shift from Mayhem to Deathwish. It finally took 15 minutes to get to the basement and another 5 to be able to hook up the cable. This is also when I realized my other biggest threat to this challenge, the sniper. Snipers in Payday 2, unlike Payday 3, are actually a complete nightmare. They seem to have the ability to know where and when you are at all times. It doesn't matter if you're behind cover or even 500 miles away, they will hit you. They go through your armor and it takes only one of their shots to take my health from full next to nothing. The worst part stems from how snipers in Payday 2 are needlessly brutal and will keep rapid firing their high damage rifles instantly. They also have the reaction time of Jimmy on cocaine, and sometimes the lasers that supposedly warn the player do not work sometimes. So back to Hotline Miami. I finally managed to open the base in search of the commissar's place. Ironically, Bane's complaining about the slow machinery, even though it took 30 minutes to get the machine working. Finally finished the heist at 32 minutes, but in hindsight, it was only the easy part of this heist. Day 2 should have been a bit easy considering the small corridors and the hallways would be perfect for my Graze build, but you'll see in a few seconds why that didn't matter. I got to the gate I needed to drill, and not having a saw because I don't have a secondary saw, everything went down south as soon as that gate opened. This cloaker right here just decided he would not die. And the bots didn't feel inclined to shoot him either, and everything went from a snowball to a godforsaken avalanche of problems. Just watch.
God damn it. Please kill the cloaker. I literally... Kill the cloaker! Kill the cloaker! Oh my god! Please! God,
Yeah, then I got pushed back into a small room where I actually ended up in custody. A slippery slope of a start. Luckily, I tied down 2 civilians from the beginning of the heist, so the bots let me get out of custody in 2 minutes, giving me enough time to reconcile what I just witnessed and experienced. Deathwish was not pulling any punches. After taking a much-needed therapy session with Jail, I was still stuck in the room and made it to the penthouse in 10 minutes. The penthouse itself didn't make this much any easier, as it was made the claustrophobic room from earlier look like an open field. I ended up going down a few more times, and wanting to be stingy with my medic bag, head down a level to get the medic bag I placed as an asset, but this was a big mistake. It turns out, since I can't sprint and I'm not exactly a fast-moving character with the armor, the cops in a cloaker were already ready at the staircase ready to hold me back. The cops actually managed to push me back further into another room where I was beaten down with no room to breathe. After I started to push back a little, I realized now that the flashbang mod I had installed really set the imagery of this heist and this challenge really well. I also found a hidden spot where the medic bag is, which actually did surprisingly provide enough cover to keep them back and wait out for a bit, and I wanted to move back into the bathroom to get a better defense, and that's when a black bulldozer decided to come down the stairs, instantly downed me for the 4th down, making that medic bag asset I wanted to save for useless. At the end of the assault, the cops were looking for the emergency fire exits, I suppose, as they left in the direction where I was, and at this point, I decided to forego any caution and just brute force my way up there, leaving me at the mercy of the bots being able to revive me. And would you believe it? After all that struggle, 2 snipers ready to ambush me when I went to go repair the drill, downing me again, leaving me with 1 more down to spare. And that's when a skulldozer just decides to join this long-range party, downed again by a 3rd sniper I couldn't see, leaving me to just accept my fate 28 minutes into the first attempt with no hostages, at a loss. But I wasn't ready to give up just yet. On the 2nd attempt, I make sure to take careful precautions for any possible special units or ambush which would be looking to end my attempt. The bots this time decided to be more helpful than randoms on an overkill heist in Payday 3. And I decided to stick only to being near the bathroom door where I had plenty of cover to make sure I don't die. My luck didn't end there just yet, as the vault allowed me to repair the drill without the need to turn on the sprinklers. Since I did not want to take any more chances, as soon as the drill was done, I made the choice of letting the cops do my job for me and taking care of the commissar. I also want to point out another problem with the marshal shield with this example here. I don't know why I wanted to take care of the snipers here, but this was a huge mistake as a skulldozer was ready to ambush me, leaving me with no armor or health as I turn another corner and a green dozer just happens to be in the doorway in the bathroom, probably needed a break from all the armor he's wearing, downing me to gray screen again. At this point, I was just going a little crazy from how this heist was treating me. And it doesn't even end there, as the cops kept flooding the small apartment over and over to make sure, for some reason, I was eliminated before the commissar, since apparently they still haven't killed him after 5 minutes. After another onslaught of rapidly going down from rubbing shoulders with all cops of all kinds, the escape finally became available. You can actually see and hear my desperation as the escape arrives.
I don't care about the coke. Get me the fuck out of here. No, it's right there. It's right there. It's right there. The exit is right there.
Not caring about leaving the coke behind. The heist was like waking up to a cold bucket of water to the face, leaving no room for imagination on how the rest of the heists are going to go down for the remainder of this challenge. Of course, what other way to start off with Deathwish difficulty other than Hoxton Breakout? For this heist, I thought that things would get very rough, and I brought the free secondary grenade launcher just in case of dozers and shields. Even though I could take care of them with a sniper rifle, it's not very reliable if they're close or if there's a crowd around them. Taking my old reliable repeater, I headed to Hoxton Breakout with low expectations. It was like dredging through molasses with the onslaught of cops ready to take me down. What made this even worse of a slow process was the unlucky RNG of getting the SWAT turret in the way. Not only that, once I finally had a moment of peace inside the garage, the control room took quite a bit of time to find as well. Even after finding the control room, the SWAT were still swarming the place, and a random marshal shield even managed to disrupt the hack, which is honestly something I haven't seen in a while, if ever. After the hack was done, the cops were still non-stop as it took me an additional 4 minutes to finally signal the driver, take off the armor, and pay the unfair price of $7 for a parking ticket. Day 2 didn't have much going on as it took the usual 30 minutes of a heist while I wait for Hoxton to finish his 4-stage server problems and secured into the new van that Twitch got us. Nothing else much happened between the 3 heists, Hoxton Revenge, the Diamond, and Golden Grin Casino. It went as typical as anyone solo playing these heists, just taking a little while longer due to my inability to sprint and my heavy armor. After a small break, I head into doing this challenge again, upgrading my sniper rifle of choice this time and going with the old reliable Nagon sniper rifle. A sniper rifle that may seem inferior to some other 500 damage snipers, but damn it if that reload wasn't quick and cool. I went into the bomb dockyard with this new and improved sniper and surprisingly did it without a hitch. Well, except for when this happened.
Idea. The finals. What? What?
It seems that the boat was cursed because it made me see the depths of hell for a brief moment, and after that, it went a little smooth with some rough edges as I put the last bomb part into the boat, completing this heist on the first attempt. After securing a bomb, I head to Florida back to my home as Scarface. And the heist went as well as you might expect. It went pretty alright, except for when I had to arguably the worst escape out of the all 3, leaving me exposed to a lot of gunfire if I wanted to move bags. These little small rooms, however, did give me enough cover and room to breathe that I actually went AFK for a bit and remained unscathed, clocking in Scarface Mansion at the end of the Butcher heist at 40 minutes in. After those heists, it seems like I needed to crime spree up to do 20. So a quick diamond heist and overkill, let me take a breather until I had to move on. With the crime spree requirement done lickety-split, I start going into the classic heists, starting out with Counterfeit, which unsurprisingly didn't take very long nor was very difficult, except for the bulldozer in the sewers giving me a bit of trouble. Then there's First World Bank, a classic type of heist with a classic type of controller. Deciding to take the R700 from the Fugitive Pack, I head my way into getting the thermite, the drill, and eventually the magnetic lock. It seems that the cops actually learned what a computer is and managed to stop the hack for a bit. I took cover in the control room as it was luckily near the drill, and the small corridor let me funnel cops to where I could easily take them down, except for when bulldozers decide to make an entrance. At this point, I've started to get the hang of the aim assist, and I'm able to use it to my advantage to get more headshots consistently. It actually took me a few minutes after the drill was done to be able to enter the vault and pour out the thermite. Not looking to waste any more time, I went to go get the second canister, but unfortunately it seems like it might have been a bit of wasted time since right after I poured the second one it was immediately done. I waited for the bot since I knew there were 4 bulldozers ready to make sure I met God with a 12 gauge to the face. I had to take them out one by one, slowly using the walls to my advantage to pop in and out to hit their heads and reload when necessary. Turns out, the way back out would be a lot harder than going in. I had to move 8 bags to the vault, which means 2 trips with the bots holding the bags on their backs. You might notice that the overdrill vault is active, which, don't worry, it's a mod that I have that I don't really use often, and I did not feel like simulating a lobotomy with doing overdrill with a Gamecube controller. Unless I said earlier in the video if someone offered $10. After securing 8 bags, I made my way into the lobby area, where a SWAT turret was making its grand introduction. It actually costed me the heist if not for the boss figuring out to revive me with 1 second left on the timer. With how easy the SWAT turret was sure to shred me, I had no other choice but to disable it for a bit so I can finally make it to the wall and explode it with C4. This plan had a bit of issues though, as bulldozers kept knocking on my door ready to down me without a moment's notice since I couldn't recover my armor naturally due to the armor suppression from the turret. Even out of the turret frying pan, I was still on fire with the cloaker and SWAT ready to continuously stall my escape whenever possible, even on this godforsaken staircase. It got even worse when I was trying to secure loot in the garbage truck and they were just still flooding the hallways. They even brought a skulldozer with a marshal shield right after. Once that classic heist was done, it was time to cool off with one of 2 stealth-only required heists, Murky Station. I initially thought this would go terrible, but surprisingly, things went smoothly even on the first attempt in under 10 minutes, a record for someone with a Gamecube controller. After securing the EMP bomb, I head out to Russia to steal server information for Jimmy. This heist is known for being notoriously hard for the beginning for the lack of cover, and with the Gamecube controller, the lack of cover makes this even more limited. A rough start begins with the radar and the missiles being far away enough from each other to make the trip across them open to having more holes in me than a pillow with a hedgehog. Once the walls were blown, luckily the EMP was located inside the sawmill, letting me have some cover for the moment. After the EMP went off, I head into the laboratory, searching for the bodies, the keycard, and the scanner. I found the bodies in the scanner, but not the keycard, forcing me to drill the server room open. Nothing much else here except for the real trouble getting out. The game seemed confused and spawned 3 to 4 bulldozers, which gave me a huge amount of issues with just getting the server out of the laboratory only. Keep in mind as this is now an infinite assault, and it only got a bit worse afterwards. Remember how I mentioned the awful snipers are in Payday 2? This is one of the heists where this comes out in full force, as I don't have enough time to react or see the snipers before I do a quick 180 to instantly down me. The bots didn't help much either since they only go after snipers after they point them out, but thankfully from the skin of my teeth I was able to secure the server. One quick thing to point out, I was filled with dread seeing Goat Simulator as a heist I'd have to do, but I immediately noticed that Santa's Workshop is available as an option. Thank God. I would never think about doing Goat Simulator on a Gamecube controller, especially on Deathwish. I know that some people do Goat Sim like it's a hobby, but I am not one of those people, and I'm fairly certain they haven't tried it with a Gamecube controller. Santa's Workshop, the saving throw from Goat Simulator, went as well as one might expect. Ambush of cops, a lot of cops, and a sluggish process to get the bags in. Something I've noticed during rewatching this run was how many hiding spots there actually are in this heist. The limits of the Gamecube controller forced me to find new hiding spots to let my jokers and the bots take care of the cops to let me regenerate health and pick off special units. I seriously never considered hiding under this table in order to stay safe for a bit. Car Shop on the other hand, being a pseudo-stealth required heist, made me go back to my stealth loadout. I had to restart once with this guard's body being visible to oncoming traffic, but on my second attempt I did it successfully. The controls were still as confusing as earlier in Meltdown, but this time I had a little bit of experience with it. Mentioning controls by the way, let me mention how Jack of all trades works on the controller. So I had to tap the deployable button to switch between 2 deployables, but in order to actually deploy them, I had to hold the button. Now, this doesn't sound bad, but to put things into perspective, I had to switch to the one I didn't want to deploy first, since tapping the button swapped them, hold down the button, and then my deployable I wanted to use initially can finally deploy. Talk about overcomplicated controls. Hopefully this won't be terrible afterwards. Next up is this heist. You know, the biker heist. This heist took me over 40 minutes on day 1. Not only did I arguably get some of the worst objectives, but the amount of cops forced me to bunker up in this very small shack. This very small shack also kept getting flooded in a strange way. The cops kept funneling into this one spot all on top of each other. Pause. This funnel didn't help when I wanted to do the actual objective, however. Everything felt completely claustrophobic as the first objective took about 18 minutes to finally get done. Afterwards, I needed to get the special parts, which took as long as you can imagine, and finally, the bunker. One of the worst objectives to do, but also one that can provide me ammo for my ever-depleting ammo supply. I would have better ammo economy if I didn't take the hungry, yet necessary, Amarok Sniper, also known as the AWP. The Amarok Sniper has a third of Thanatosis damage, but it contains a better magazine, fire rate, and reload. The only debate is that it has a better anim economy. Damage may be a bit overkill, but it's necessary when it comes to the amount of bulldozers this game throws at me. After a bit of delay with the bunker, about 44 minutes in, the bike was finally done. Not to mention the fact that I got cloakered by the same cloaker 3 times in a similar situation back into Hotline Miami in this small shack. But afterwards, I took off immediately, but not without stopping for the weak SWAT members, before completing day 1 and heading into day 2, Interception. This day took 9 times the usual amount it takes, but still got it on my first attempt. The biker boss took forever to kill, however, but I was able to crawl my way back to Bile and secure the helmet. Not without a few issues involving bulldozers and cloakers, however. No reason to panic. Wait. Panic Room. Another one of the classic heists I need to do. I didn't get into an ambush as I made my way to Chavez's place. The saws weren't a major roadblock, but afterwards, wow. Snipers took me a few downs, and the worst being this one sniper who shot me through this window from the building next door. But the worst came to C4. To summarize, I get the bag of C4, I get downed. I place the C4, I get downed. I head downstairs, I get downed. I breathe in the wrong direction, I get downed. It got so bad at one point, just look at this and you'll understand.
Why this?
Oh my god.
What?
Fucking die! You need a fucking army, you're gonna take me your
Yeah, you saw that correctly. That's 4 downs in 30 seconds. I got down 4 times in 30 seconds. Thankfully, that kind of nonsense halted when I was finally able to get the last bit of C4 I needed to plant. I finally got to plant all the C4 30 minutes in. With the magnet secured with another 8 minutes, I made my way to the escape, and the stats to the end result tells more than what I could put into words. Next up on the list of heists, I got Brooklyn 1010 with a Continental. As usual, it took me a bit to cover Sharon and make it to the other building. I got worried as I thought I would need to sprint jump or even take lighter armor so I could have enough movement speed, but I barely made it the jump with just enough speed though. Got the briefcase, met with Sharon, and which was delayed by the local SWAT turret in the neighborhood, and made my way to the escape 25 minutes in. Then things got a bit quieter as I had to stealth the yacht heist. This heist took me 6 attempts to do, as 2 of those heists were ended up by a guard hearing my corpse burning alive, and another 2 were being instant detected by a guard through a wall, and another because of shoddy controls. It seems that this one guard was just not giving up on his job though, as with the 6th attempt he still managed to instantly detect me through a wall. Honestly, this heist brings me back to my childhood days of playing Sly Cooper. Not with the Gamecube Controller of course, but something about the jazzy music and the stealth mechanics take me back to simpler times. Next up, Undercover, another classic heist. This time, unfortunately, I ended up with a car on the rooftop, damn you Alex, which cost me a down or 2. Got the taxman into the server and...
Oh, merry man!
I resummoned Average Gaming again to help my disabled melee button to get the taxman into the chair. After Average got done beating up the taxman, I interrogate him several times to get the codes. After that, nothing special really happened as I make my way to the escape again, and miraculously made the jump, ending another heist where I had to summon my stand again. Now here's a classic heist where things took a shift for the worst, Slaughterhouse. I initially didn't think this heist would be too terrible as it only needed 8 bags, which means 2 trips with the bots holding the gold, but for some odd reason, the cops were really persistent on taking back the bags of gold. Even with the use of the conveyor belts, the cops kept grabbing them constantly like it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. What made it worse was the amount of bulldozers and marshals deciding to spawn in this heist again, leaving me down and watching my gold bags be dragged away at fast speeds. Even a sniper party decided to join the heist as well, and as I kept balancing getting down from the snipers, I had little to no time to see or react to. Thanks Payday 2 Balance. I thought this heist would take me 30 minutes to 35, but it actually ended up with almost 50 minutes for the problems I said earlier. At least it was my first try. Beneath the Mountain started Locke's heist in the career mode. This heist initially started out not too strong as the charges and the tools took a bit, but I failed with the first attempt as a Skulldozer managed to punch me under the desk, with the bots not coming into the room and for some reason leaving me to my fate to restart. The second attempt took a little while more, but I quickly went into custody as the cops weren't stopping to shoot or give me room to breathe. Payday 2 AI is so wonderfully designed. The third attempt went thoroughly much easier, even with some minor setbacks, completing the heist within 20 minutes. Birth of Sky, however, something completely changed in this heist. This heist usually takes a 4-man crew 9 to 10 minutes, and for solo that's usually 15. With the Gamecube Controller on the other hand, I thought this would take a typical 20 to 30 minutes for a few attempts, but oh no. No. This heist didn't take that quickly to beat. Nope. I want you, the viewer, to guess how long this heist took. Go on, take a guess. Take a wild guess how long this heist took. Got your guesses? Alright, here's how long it actually took. Yep, you read that correctly. 2 hours. 2 fucking hours for this heist. Let's talk about why it took 2 hours. First off, there's the plane. Simple enough. Finding my way through the plane as I can't sprint, and when the bulldozer spawned, I would either be able to kill him or get downed. Guess which one usually happened? Then there's getting off the plane with the parachutes. Simple enough. Problem. You see those cops down there? Those are known as weak cops, and they do a fuck ton of damage, and the best part, they don't miss. I actually had to reset one of my attempts because they took aim and annihilated me before I even touched the ground with the bots in God knows where in Narnia and couldn't revive me in time. Then, the snipers. Oh my god, the snipers. I just want ammo. There's a second dozer somewhere. Snipers. That was 2 shots. You did not have enough time to do that.
Oh, find the third pallet.
Fuck you, amigo. Give him hell. Fuck with me, you lose your fucking life.
That's not close enough. And the snipe. Fuck you, sniper. And there's a SWAT turret. And then suddenly.
See? Most heists give you 1 or 2 snipers in groups at a time. Not Birth of Sky though. Payday 2 in its infinite wisdom of balance spawns 3 snipers at the same time. And it doesn't end there. There's also the fact that bulldozers, and cops to an extent, are everywhere. I mean, look at this attempt. Look at this and tell me that this is a completely fair and normal for a heist. Back to the sniper problem at hand. I already mentioned how batshit and insane the damage was of these guys, but let me tell you a little secret about this heist. Since a lot of objectives provide little to no cover, that means I am open to sniper fire. The worst part? The snipers in this heist, and only in this heist, besides Goat Simulator, I swear, respawn every 30 seconds. Don't believe me? Watch this. I even included a timer for your convenience.
Fucking cocksucker.
Seeing a lot of SWAT vents rolling in. Those cacks can bring this chopper down. I can't pick you up here, but I have a plan.
I legit had to pause and take a moment to realize what just happened. It doesn't end there, though. When you finally extract the 3 bundles, there's 2 SWAT turrets that spawn at the same time.
I will meet you on the edge of town, but I don't want you bringing the whole fucking cop army. Get in the sewers. I've organized transport.
ready to tear me to shreds since I can't sprint, and making extra care to destroy my jokers and the bots if they breathe in the same direction as the turret. Captain Winters also spawns in this heist. Like, this heist doesn't have enough problems. And finally, the sewers. The sewers is the home stretch of this heist, and Payday 2 just so happens to spawn three fucking skulldozers. And yes, at the same time as the cops all fled into the sewers right where you're standing at the same time. Do you notice a pattern here? After 2 hours of painful attempts, I finally did it. I beat Breath of Sky on Deathwish with a Gamecube Controller. I don't understand how anyone can look at this heist and think, Payday 2 is a balanced game. So you want to know the ironic part? Both of these heists here, East Street and Greenbridge, they took 1 attempt. 1. These heists were lengthy, but they weren't extremely difficult, like the previous heist. Sure, I had some flukes here and there, but nope, 1 attempt each. They didn't even take that long. They took 25 to 30 minutes. A lot of people see Alaskan Deal as one of those heists similar to Breath of Sky, but strangely enough, it didn't take that long. Sure, it took 2 attempts to complete it, but honestly, it was a chill kind of heist. Get it? But seriously though, this wasn't a fairly difficult heist as there was plenty of cover and room for the generator and the oil, but the snipers came again and again and again with being the main hindrance. Going back into a stealthy mood, I take the quiet approach to Diamond Heist, equipping Jacket as my heister this time as the Jacket character pack, at the time, was coming out for Payday 3 during this recording. The stealthy approach took a few attempts mainly due to some guards catching me causing a chain reaction, leading to a few restarts, but overall it wasn't terrible with the Gamecube Controller. Leading up to Locke betraying us, I start the Reservoir Dogs heist. Day 2, Day 1 took 1 attempt, and a lot as you might expect, Day 1, Day 2 took a little more than 3 attempts. Remember how I said in Slaughterhouse cops are everywhere and keen on taking the bags? That was the same problem here, except the SWAT turret also made things perfectly difficult as well. Some of the restarts were caused on my end as I did not have the patience for waiting out the assault to get my medic bag. On my successful attempt, however, I took special precautions to destroy the turret before moving any bags. The best part though was how there's clear glass windows in the vault, and the thing is that cops can't shoot through this, but I sure as hell can, and I can see where their heads are, which leads them to the mercy of my powerful 50 caliber sniper rifle, the Thanatos, to their heads. Other than those few restarts, I got a funny glitch happened here where my Joker ended up through the wall, not doing anything, but just sitting there through the wall, completely invulnerable. Next up, Brooklyn Bank. Now, would you expect that this heist took 1 attempt? Well, yeah, it did. I didn't take any gold with me as I wanted only the medallion and escape, and I even got the good escape through the sewers. Now, Breaking Feds, the most infamous stealth-only heist out of the 3 of them, one complaint I do have though is getting the holiday-themed heist music. Miraculously, this heist took about 2 or 3 attempts to do. The best moment with this heist comes from how I got the good side of where the office is, and I correctly guessed the code on my first attempt, leading me to probably hold some kind of official speedrun record of beating Breaking Feds with a Gamecube controller in under 15 minutes. So then I head on to Henry's Rock. Henry's Rock. This heist has been known to take a long time. Hell, it's known to be very difficult. Imagine for a moment the sniper spawn similar to Breath of Sky, the flooding cops like Hotline Miami, and with little to no cover where they need to constantly move between areas like Heat Street. That's Henry's Rock. I went with the same build as I've been using, with Grays, adjusting the build a bit, picking up the skill that reduces melee damage from the cops by 50% due to training. I went with the Thanatos sniper rifle again since I knew the sheer amount of cops and dozers would prove overwhelming if I took something with a little more damage. In hindsight, it seems like I didn't really need it, as more often than not, I ended up with a low amount of bullets constantly with no real dent to show for it. There's a lot of issues I had with this heist. Starting with, I constantly got the same 2 laboratories, the laser and the computer. The computer has little to no cover while the hack constantly keeps being stopped due to the sheer number of murky water. Then, the weapons lab. I had to charge the laser, replace the batteries, and keep the cops off the power. Same thing as before, I had little to no cover. With the Marshall shields having it out for me this time, they would constantly stop the power. That wasn't the worst part though. The worst part? Cops don't seem to fucking leave. In fact, they don't seem to leave at all. Bulldozers, Marshall shields, medics, and even heavy SWAT do not leave this heist. Ever. See, in any Payday game, including 2, whenever an assault ends, cops should usually run away to despawn, giving the players enough time to complete objectives. That does not happen here. In fact, it even got worse near the end when I head back into the helicopter pad. Even after putting both of the bags on the conveyor belt, it still wasn't over. The box from the computer lab was an honest-to-God send with being able to give me cover. Well, somewhat. Since this heist can take so long, I needed to be very resourceful with my medic bags. I needed to make sure I deployed them in the safe enough spots so I could head back to them in case I ran out of downs, but this would mean letting the cops flood back into the areas I was just at. You can see the issues with this. It was a never-ending loop. After the second box, near the end of the heist, I needed to disable 2 turrets. This means that not only did I have enough time to plan around the turrets just so the bots can revive me, I also had to make sure I had enough downs and health in order to be able to start and finish the hacks in the first place. Remember the problem I mentioned earlier about cops not leaving? 2 things would happen. Either I get shot up by the turrets enough, forcing me to back off, or there would be a small army of cops shooting at me, also forcing me to back off. On top of all this, the 2 sniper spawns. The one in the warehouse after the first box and the one on the helipad just added more nonsense on top of this disastrous heist. What about when the assaults ended, you might be asking? That didn't matter. That didn't matter apparently, as even if I finished the hacks, even if the assault was over, even if the snipers were dead, the helipad was still flooded with cops from every direction again with little to no cover. I had to either risk using a down or 2, or just wait for the bots and my jokers to give me a sliver of hope to get the flare and get the bags. After finally being able to signal Bile, 14 minutes after the objective became available by the way, it took me an additional 10 minutes to be able to secure both bags. I cannot describe how great it felt after beating this heist. While it took 2 attempts, the first attempt only took 46 minutes, which ended prematurely due to Hoxton sitting right on top of the only hostage I had and shooting him in the head when I'm in custody. What a traitor! The second one took a whole hour and 17 minutes in-game. But by God, I did it. I beat Henry's Rock on Deathwish with a Gamecube Controller. With that, this heist officially became the first heist to take me more than an hour in-game. So congratulations Henry's Rock for being the first heist to take more than an hour according to the timer in-game to finish off. After that gauntlet of time used for Henry's Rock, I head to Shacklethorn. I took another silent approach and doing this heist, lo and behold, first try and everything. The ladder had me in for quite a scare, but after that I made my escape, which completed Shacklethorn. Back to the chaos with Hell's Island, this heist plays very similar to Henry's Rock with the amount of cops, but do you want to know the key difference between this heist and that one? The fact that I can take cover for once. Cover never looked this valuable to me before, and trust me, I was not willing to let that go. The only thing I got worried about during the first attempt was the escape timer when Locke carried me into the helicopter. For sure, I thought I would fail this part. I legit thought that this would be the end. But luckily, with 5 seconds left on the clock, I finished off Hell's Island, leaving 2 more heists to go. Interestingly, one of my favorite heists of all time, including the soundtrack, Code Silver, the original one, being the greatest track of all time in my opinion, no mercy when as much as you expect with someone with grays. This felt like the game rewarded me with such a fun heist after suffering through what could only be described as hell on earth with the last few heists. I took my Nagant sniper rifle and let loose all that stress from the last 2 heists. It's indescribable how relaxing this heist was with grays and all. I got the 2 samples, one did break, but I got another one right away as I rode the elevator to escape, leaving 1 more heist to go, as Bane said, the greatest heist of all.
Go get them, friends. Here they come.
Well, here we are. I don't know where to start with this heist. The White House heist. Let's just start at how long this heist took. I want you to guess how long this heist took. I bet you won't. It took 5 hours. It took 5 godforsaken hours. Let's start at the very beginning. I selected Dallas for this heist. I don't know why. It felt right to do. First, I have to find 2 of 4 boxes to access the West Wing, and before you type out a comment, yes, I do have a mod that makes it so I change the color of the boxes, because white on white isn't exactly the easiest thing to see. But I digress. I make my way towards the West Wing, reaching the Oval Office, a place I'm going to be familiar with in real life in 2036. And after a little bit of wildest suffering, the first attempt ended at 36 minutes while I took cover at a place I was safe at in the administrator room. I know I had to go for something more powerful if I wanted to handle the influx of cops around every corner, so I switched to Thanatos on my second attempt. This heist really exemplifies how stupid martial shields are. In Payday 2, they appear to spawn at about damn near every 30 seconds, even having to deal with 2 of them at the same time a couple of times. I made my way into the POC for the second time. I was streaming for 5 hours up to this point after dealing with Henry's Rock, so in the webcam I started to show some frustrations at the heist. With 54 minutes in, I failed at the second attempt, but not after this scene making me realize how truly ridiculous the cops spawn on this heist are.
No. Oh my fucking god.
After witnessing that and dying to a skulldozer, I decided to vent my frustrations a bit before taking a break and coming back to this heist at another date. Going back into this heist on my third attempt, I switch up my secondary for the grenade launcher and back to the Nagant sniper rifle, making sure I have a way to deal with not only a small crowd, but also killing medics or martial shields with no worry. This time, I was able to complete the POC hack and open up the vault, but sadly died when the pardons were available as I didn't realize I was on my last down when I reached the vault, leaving me with another hour and 14 minutes wasted. I was this close to just calling it quits here. I almost wanted to switch to the keyboard during the POC part and argue that the part was so difficult I had an excuse to use the keyboard during that part. But I didn't want to. Not after all this time. After every trial, every bullshit mechanic, every martial shield, bulldozer, medic bag secured, and every cramp in my hand that was starting to feel, I did not give up. I gave it one more try, this time switched to the Amarok sniper rifle. I wanted something I could use with more damage to destroy the bulldozers, but I did not want to use the Thanatos since it was too slow to deal with the large hive of cops, so I went with it. This time, I made sure to see if I could keep my 2 medic bags on me for 2 places, the POC and the escape. Back in the Oval Office, after another painful 30 minutes, I finally made my way back into the entrance of the POC. Not without being taken down quickly by a random sniper, of course. I got very lucky with the button and I made my way into the POC for the 3rd time. You know what they say, 3rd time's a charm. I placed my medic bag near the doorway, this time ready to deal with the swarm as I hacked the mainframe 3 times. Speaking of 3, there's this one time where 3 medics decided to spawn and huddle with each other. Fun. The turrets showed up during the 1st and 2nd act, which were thankfully easy to take care of as I can wallbang them with the Amarok. After the in-game timer hit about an hour and 6 minutes, the vault finally opened for the pardons. The cops were not finished, however. As tear gas flooded the room, with the assault not ending in sight, it seems my OBS glitched a bit here as the video seems to freeze a bit, but another 4 minutes I managed to seal the pardons and make my way out of the POC, finally. Panicked, I start thinking what I really need to do afterwards. I know that I need to hack something, but that's all I can really remember. Adrenaline started to pump through my body as I got nervous and started to get intensely focused on the final stretch of this heist. If I sound angry, it's because of how focused I was. No, seriously. Realizing I had to get the hack started despite the infinite assault, I had no other choice but to sacrifice 2 of my precious downs at this moment to start the hack, only to realize that the cops could stop it. With a black bulldozer ready to shoot me in the face, I had my screen turn gray, meaning I'm on my last down. And just as fate would have it, the bulldozer stood right near my body, signaling that this could be the end of this attempt, as the bulldozer was between me and my second and only medic bag left.
But I'm not done yet!
I managed to break his visor where he needed to reload, giving me the second chance to headshot him and quickly make my way to the medic bag, healing me and giving me the 4 more downs I needed. The bots finally decided to hold back the cops, and with 2 brand new jokers, I had to re-enable the hack again, letting Locke be able to fly in for the escape. Humorously, it seemed like the cops were able to jam a completed hack, but that did not make much of a difference as Locke landed a few minutes earlier. I disregard any safety precautions as I make my way to the helicopter, inches away from the escape, gambling on the bots being able to revive me. I got back up one more time and reached the helicopter, thus ending the White House heist, and with that, ending Payday 2's career mode, meaning I did it. I beat Payday 2 with a Gamecube controller. This honestly became an interesting challenge. I don't know if I'll do something like this in the future, but Thank you again to kknowley for the inspiration and the kudos for this video. If you want to see me do stuff like this, let me know in the comments, and be sure to check out my Twitch and my Discord, where I do more stuff like this and look for more ideas in the future. Until then everybody, this is Crasherbasher, and I'll see you later.